Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are in Kiddushin, Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nun Daled Amud Beis in the words Toshma Apoide Neta Revai. Toshma Apoide Neta Revai. Nun Daled Amud Beis, and we are, in the bottom part of the Amud. Line starts with the letters Taf Shin Toshma. Toshma. What are we talking about? What's the topic? Meiser Sheni. Some machlokas regarding Meiser Sheni. Is Meiser Sheni considered to be something belonging to Hashem, or is Meiser Sheni something belongs to the person? Meiser Sheni is the fruit, the tithe, the Meiser of the fruit that's supposed to go to Yerushalayim. You eat it only in Yerushalayim, the times of Beis Hamikdash. You're not supposed to eat it anywhere outside the walls of Yerushalayim. You can redeem it, and the Kedusha, the holiness, goes on the money. Then the money goes to Yerushalayim. You take it to Yerushalayim. V'tzarto hakesef beyodecha, it says in the Torah. You bundle the money in your hands, and then you use the money to buy food and drinks in Yerushalayim. Not all the food and drinks, most of them. Now, we had a question. Omer Rabbi Yehuda. Omer says that the status of this money and the fruit themselves is considered what? Gavoa. You can't sell it. You can't be mekadesh a woman with it because it's not yours. And Rabbi Yehuda said it's secular money. It's your own money. You own fruit. You own fruit also. It starts with fruit. And the only limitation is you have to take it to Yerushalayim. That was the machloikis. And we brought one proof that supported Rabbi Meir. We saw a Mishnah in which Beis Hillel, the ones and only, Beis Hillel, they also said that Meiser Sheni is Momin Gavoya. So that endorsed Rabbi Meir big time. Toshma. Now let's bring another brisa that seems to Dafka support Rabbi Yehuda. Toshma. Apoide. Neta, it's actually a Mishnah, I think. Apoide neta revai shaloi. It's a Mishnah, it's a Mishnah, not a brisa, it's a Mishnah. Apoide neta revai shaloi. Remember we spoke about neta revai? What's neta revai? A person, the fourth year produce, is also, so it's not a tithe. You don't separate it from anything. Everything that grew on your tree on the fourth year of the life of the tree, nothing to do with the cycle of Shemitah. What happens with that? Same as Meiser Sheni. You take it to Yerushalayim and you eat it there, or you poide, you transfer the Kedusha on money and take it to Yerushalayim. Before it we spoke about Kerem Revai, now we speak about Neta Revai. For most parts, it's the same. Neta Revai means any other fruit. Kerem Revai means the vineyard, but it's more or less the same. A person now wants to, what does he want to do? He doesn't have koich to take, what kind of fruit shall we talk about? What? Apples, proper apples. The person wants to take his apples that grew up in Ramat HaGolan, and what is going to do with all the apples? Take them to Yerushalayim. No, I can't start taking now 10 truckloads to Yerushalayim. And so what does he do? Takes money, right? And redeems the Kedusha of the apples on the money. All very nice. When did these apples grow? In the fourth year of the tree. Beautiful. Moisif olav chamishisoi. He has to add a fifth. When do you add a fifth? When it's your own. When you poida your own apples, your own oranges, then you have to be poida and add a fifth. If it belongs to other people, then you don't. Ben mishaloi, ben shenitan loy b'matona. Either it's his own meiser, his own neta revai, his own fruit, or if the fruit were given to him b'matona. Oh, what are you telling me now? That this meiser sheni, I keep confusing them. No, you can call me. He should call me. So now, let's say the person has those fruit of the fourth year, and they were given to him by other people. What do we say then? Given by other people? Who cares if it was given by other people? This is fruit of the fourth year of the Neta Revai. And what do? It's considered now your own. And therefore, since they're your own now, you were gifted that gift of the apples of the fourth year. Now you're supposed to give a choimish. But the question again is money. Who is the author of this Mishnah? If you want to tell me that this Mishnah is Rabbi Meir, how can, according to Rabbi Meir, matzi? What's matzi? Matzi means can, C-A-N. Yeah, can the person actually give it to his friend as a matana, the neta revai, V'agamri kodesh kodesh mimaiser. Rabbi Meir, following Besilel, Rabbi Meir, following Besilel, said that there's a Gzera Shova kodesh kodesh, just like Meiser Sheni belongs to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is exactly what Rabbi Meir says all the time. So too, the Netar Evai belongs to Hashem. If something belongs to Hashem, how can you give it b'matana? I can take something that belongs to Hashem, a clean Beis Hamikdash, a mazrek from Beis Hamikdash, can't give it as a gift. I'm not going into questions of Meila, definitely, but this is not a valid thing to do. Yeah, you can't give a gift something that belongs to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And you can't tell me now before, after separation, like we answered before in the previous question, if you follow, there's no separation. Right from the start, the second day we're budding, growing on the tree, those, let's say, apples, then what do you say? They belong to Kodesh Baruch Hu. How can you give them as a gift to anybody? Right? They remain yours because you're like the gizbar of Hashem. Yeah, but you can't give, they're not owned now by the other person. And therefore, the person who received them physically, of course, he can use them and benefit them and take them to Yerushalayim or poide, but they're not his. They're not his. So he shouldn't add the choimesh, because when you take a pidyon over someone else's fruit, you don't take choimesh. Let's say I'm the one and they grew in my field. In my 4th year, I have all these apples growing. Okay, I have all the apples growing. By the way, parrots, we're going to change it very soon to grapes. So let's already change for grapes now. In my vineyard in Ramat Hagolan, I have all these grapes that are growing, and you're telling me that if I gave them to Tzvi, not in return for a motorcycle, just because you're a nice guy, Tzvi, and you connected my computer today, so I'm giving you now all the grapes of the 4th year, you are going to take Maaseh because they belong to you, Pidyon, with Choimish, they belong to you. They don't belong to you, they remained mine, because they're under Hekdesh with me being the Gizbar, so to speak. So why do we say you take a Choimish? How can you give it Matana? It belongs to Hashem. Answers the Gemara, a unique answer, different to before. It was given, those grapes were given when they're in a stage of their growth called smadar. Smadar is, you know who is smadar? You know who she is? Smadar is a stage in the growth of the grapes. That's why quickly change to grapes. When you just begin to see the shape of the grapes, you see the very early stage of grapes. You just begin to see the beginning of the formation. You can tell that each one is like separate from the other. I don't know, I've never seen it yet. So that stage of smadar, at that point, they're not yet called fruit. The grapes at such an early stage, there's a later stage, at least one more stage, if not two. The other stage, Gemara in Brochas, remember, Daf Lamed Vav, there it says boiser. Boser, also in modern Hebrew, means unripe fruit. Yeah, that's a later stage. When the fruit is smadar, it's so young and so underdeveloped that it's not considered as fruit at all. And therefore, at that stage, it doesn't have yet the halachos of Hekdesh and Oiv of Netar Evai. It's not called Kerem Revai or Netar Evai for the simple reason that it's not yet, it's too young, underage. It's too young, too underage, so to speak, to yet have the halachos of the Netar Evai and Hekdesh. So therefore, it's not Hekdesh. You chapped it, excuse the pun, you nipped it in the bud. You gave it to your friend before it started belonging to Hekdesh, and that's why I can give it as a matana. So why is it at the end of the day, at the end of the season, Enochinami, the recipient now has to take? He refers to it as a Netar Evai, and he does the pidyon clearly because they grew in his domain, right? Again, I did not pick them off the tree. I'm not sure that you understood that. I have a vineyard, and in some kind of kinyan, matana, I'm giving you the very, very young grapes called smadar. At that point, I can do it. It's the 4th year. I know it's the 4th year. I can see the calendar too. But lemaisa, they're so young that the din hekdesh didn't yet apply to them. Yeah? They're not yet. They're not yet subject to Netar Evai. You know what happens? A lot of tefillos, a lot of water, and in your domain now, tzvi, what happens to them? They grow beautifully, and then once they're out of smadar to the next stage, then they become now the halachos of Netar Evai. They become whatever they become, hekdesh, but now they belong to you. I could give them to you before hekdesh chapped them. I gave them to you. They stayed on the tree under your ownership, and in that happy note, they're yours. Since they're yours, and now you do the pidyon, when they're ripe, you do the pidyon, they're yours. They're yours. You have to give an extra choimish before you ask, let me just finish the idea. But the loy Rabbi Yosi, and the chiddush is that this Mishnah does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. What did Rabbi Yossi say? The Omar Smadar Osum Mipnei Shupri. Rabbi Yossi argues on all that. Rabbi Yossi says that a Smadar is really forbidden. Forbidden what? It's considered as Neta Revai, or in this case, Kerem Revai. It does make a difference between each fruit to his own. And he says Smadar is already old enough, developed enough, ripe enough, not in reality. That stage he refers to as fruit, and therefore at that stage it's already called Neta Revai, Kerem Revai, belonging to Hashem. So according to Rabbi Yossi, you have no solution. Etc. This Mishnah is not Rabbi Yossi. This Mishnah is other people who are not Rabbi Yossi, such as Rabbi Meir. But since it grew up in your field, in your domain, under your ownership, a later stage, now they belong to you. Yeah, because we managed to do the transaction before Hekdesh kicked in. That's what we did here. No problem. Of course, I can give it to you before Hekdesh chapped them. Yes. You're good. Beseder. Toshma. So Lemaisa, so far, the winner is Rabbi Meir. We tried time and again to allege all kinds of Mishnahs to Rabbi Yehuda. And again, what's the topic? We have now the scoreboard, lahavdil, yeah? We have Rabbi Meir versus Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir said, Ma'aser Sheni is moment gavoya. And this is so far, there was one Mishnah that clearly was like Rabbi Meir, and other Mishnahs which can be interpreted in different ways. Toshma, now we're going to see a big problem, a Mishnah that supports Rabbi Yehuda clearly. Toshma. Now we're talking again about Ma'aser Sheni. Now, let me ask you a question. Whenever we talk about transferring the Kedusha, we usually imagine what? And that's the example I usually give. I take my fruit and I take my money, and my fruit, my apples of Ma'aser Sheni, I transfer the Kedusha on the money. Now the money, I'll take it to Yerushalayim. But that's not necessarily so. What happens when I simply exchange for money? When I buy, simple words, if I buy from you, yeah, Shmuel, want to sell me your apples, and Eretz Yisrael just arrived in Eretz Yisrael, and you have your own apples of Ma'aser Sheni, and now you sell me the apples, and I give you in return three things: kesef, money, and geld. I give you for the apples, and it's Ma'aser Sheni. That's a form of pidyon. It's also pidyon because we exchange apples for money. Who cares? It's two people. Why not? And therefore now the apples are in my hands and they are secular in my hands. And Shmuel, Baruch Hashem, yeah, such Abbas Eretz Yisrael, he takes the money to Yerushalayim, and there he uses it for food. All very nice, all very simple. Question is, what happens when there's inflation, science fiction story, inflation in the market and things, yeah, we're learning all kinds of imaginary things here. Yeah, all of a sudden the prices of apples has shot up in the middle of what? Let's see. Toshma. Moshach himenu meiser besela. Let's say when everybody knows about Kinyan Meshicha, right? Very good. How are you koine metaltalin, my friends? Well, many, many ways. What's one way to be koine metaltalin? How do you koine metaltalin? Meshicha, right? I pull your apples into my domain, into a simta, into something, yeah? I do Meshicha into, let's say, simta, reshus, and now the apples, what are they? They're mine, Meshicha. Moshach himenu, I pull the apples from Shmuel, meiser besela, right? And we all knew, both of us knew, and we looked online and we went to the greengrocer, and what did we see? That the apples are worth a sela. Sela is a shekel, but the shekel then was much more. The kid said there was the value of that kilo of apples was worth one sela, one coin of sela, right? That's quite expensive, by the way. Yeah, sela is the most expensive coin in the times of the Gemara, of the Mishnah. So now I owe Shmuel a sela, right? I did the Meshicha, true? Now I owe him sela. But the problem was, since I did not yet, what happens then? I'm supposed to give him what? One sela, right? And the pidyon wasn't done yet. Pidyon is only done when there's cash involved, when there's money. I owe you a sela. I didn't yet give you a sela. And all of a sudden, we open the newspaper. Pshia, look at that. The price of apples has doubled itself. Pshia. So now the question is, what do I do? Do I owe you still one sela, like the time of the Meshicha? Because when we did the Kinyan, then, the Kinyan was done with the sela. Afterwards, it became to Islam. That's not my business. It's not my worry, because it became mine when was the Kinyan done? By Meshicha. So that we freeze frame it in time, then it's sela. That's what I owed you. That was the agreement, and that was the Kinyan. Later on, it became more expensive. Who cares? And that's the halacha. That's not so simple what I'm saying, but that's in simple transaction. That's the way it should be. Noisen Sela, Umistakel Sela. What's Mistakel Sela? I gained the Sela. I only have to give Shmuel, the apple owner, one Sela, as originally agreed. Why? Because it was koineit in the time of Mashiach. The time of the Kinyan is when it's set in stone, as I like to call it, and that's the amount I owe you. A mistakel Sela, and I gained a Sela, meaning I saved the Sela. I saved the Sela, lucky me. Haha. Umaiser Sheni Shaloi, and the Maiser Sheni belongs to me. Very good. The Maiser Sheni is mine because I did Mashiach. What about the money? Money. What's the Kiddush over here? The Kiddush is that we treat this Maiser Sheni as regular transaction. Everything we said now, if this was a Gemara in Bezbov Metzia about Kinyonim, it wouldn't be even a Kiddush because everybody knows Metaltil and Nikne B'Mashiach. At the second of Mashiach, that's when you take the, so to speak, photo. That's the money is owed. That's it. I owe you one seller, not two. You know what the Chiddush is? The Chiddush is as follows. By Hekdesh, things are completely different. And now the Gemara is going to ask the question, money. Who is the author of this Mishnah? Ilem Rabbi Meir. If you want to tell me it's Rabbi Meir, the author of the Mishnah, then you're in trouble. Why? Amai mistaker besela. Why is it that I have to give you Sela and I save the other Sela? It says, V'nosan esakesef v'kam lo omar rachmone. Let me explain. I want actually to read Rashi because it's one of the very, very crucial Rashis. Let's look at Rashi. V'nosan esakesef v'kam lo. It's the fourth line from the bottom of the page. Exactly the fourth line from the bottom of the page. Line starts by Mashiach. V'nosan esakesef v'kam lo. It says Rashi, unbelievable. Ein hekdesh nikna b'Mashiach. Wow. Which means when we say the metaltil and nikna b'Mashiach, as we saw in Daf Chafei, Daf Chavov, right? What was that? That's regular chulin. I want to buy Ellen's watch. I want to buy your motorcycle. I want to buy your glasses. Whatever I want to buy. Yeah. Then what? Then how is it nikna Mashiach? I have to pull the object, and then the money. You're not coining the money metaltilin. Of course not, right? Metal not with money, and therefore the Mashiach. That's a crucial moment. That's when we freeze frame it and we say that's what I owe you. But by Hekdesh, that's not true. Hekdesh is not nikne b'Mashiach. Why not? The Chtiv Beit says by Hekdesh, the Yosef Chamish is kesef. You heard the word kesef? Erka cha'olo v'kam loy. Hekdesh, if you want to buy Hekdesh from someone, assuming you can, which is another question, yeah, if you want to transact Hekdesh, you know how that happens? What's the Kenyan? It's really pidyon. Only money and money only. Now he's saying even more. Soon I'm going to plug it back to the Gemara. I promise. I'm just finishing Rashi. Did you hear? Are you fainting? The karka we always know is nikne by kesef shtar and chazoko. Here only kesef. If I want to buy karka of hekdesh, the only way to do it is by money, which is really pidyon. But shtar and chazoko don't help for the karka of hekdesh. Veloy meshicha es metaltalin. Meshicha doesn't help for metaltalin. Let's plug back to the Gemara. If I pulled the apples from Shmuel, right, with his consent, of course, yeah, if it's Hekdesh, if Rabbi Meir is right, and this is Rabbi Meir Mishnah, something here is very wrong. Because the moment of Mashiach for Hekdesh, you know what it is? Nothing, nada. Well, technically it has to be by me because I want to eventually take them to Shalim. But Lamaisa, this is not the crucial moment. You know when will Hekdesh be acquired by me? Only when I'll give the money. So if yesterday the money was worth a Sela, and today, we open the newspaper, it's worth 2 sloim, of course I have to give you 2 sloim, because the Kinyan wasn't yet done. The Kinyan is only done at the moment of giving the money, and that wasn't yet done. And therefore, if you're telling me now that the crucial moment of Kinyan of Ma'aser Sheni is Mashiach, and not the moment giving the money is the side thing, just paying a debt, if so, you're clearly telling me that, yeah, this is that Ma'aser Sheni is treated as Hulin, not as Hekdesh. And therefore this Mishnah cannot possibly be Rabbi Meir. El Alav, well, the obvious conclusion is Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. Meaning, Rabbi Yehuda, what did he say? Ma'aser Sheni is regular Ma'aser. It's regular money of the Balabais. It's Hulin. It's regular Ma'aser Hulin. I don't care if it's Ma'aser Sheni or your shoes and socks. Same thing. At the end of the day, yeah, and therefore Mashiach works. Mashiach is a crucial thing, and therefore we see a Mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda. Scoreboard. Well, so far the result is 1-1. One Mishnah for Rabbi Meir and one Mishnah for Rabbi Yehuda. And the problem is that we originally started this whole lahavdil elfaf avdolus tournament by saying what? That Rabbi Meiser Sheni alocha like Rabbi Meir, because there's a stam mishnah like Rabbi Meir. Excuse me. There's equally stam mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda. Let's repeat the mishnah in short. The first mishnah we read, which was a pro Rabbi Meir mishnah, was a classical mishnah. Bes Shammai versus Bes Hillel, and Bes Hillel are the ones who said that Kerem Revai, Neta Revai, the fourth year thing, is like Meiser Sheni, which is Hekdesh. Rabbi Bes Hillel like Rabbi Meir. On the other hand, now we just saw Mishnah supporting Rabbi Yehuda. Yeah, that when you buy Meiser Sheni, you treat it like Chulin, Meshicha, not Kesef. So I saying Rabbi Meir is like Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. We also have Stam Mishnah Rabbi Yehuda. Same thing. What's the difference? Answers the Gemara, unbelievable. We're going to see a beautiful Yisoid now. Beautiful Yisoid. La'olam Rabbi Yehuda. Enochinami, I'm giving up. This Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. However, the Hocho Chad Stama, that's very interesting, which means the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda was only mentioned once, while the Mishnah supporting Rabbi Meir, the same Mishnah was mentioned Ishat Mishnais twice, once in Maseches Ma'aser Sheni and once in Maseches Eduyos. And because it was mentioned twice, although it's the same Mishnah, one Mishnah supporting Rabbi Meir, one Mishnah supporting Rabbi Yehuda, but the Mishnah supporting Rabbi Meir was mentioned twice. The Eitzah Rabbi Meir is the winner, Alocha like Rabbi Meir. Correct the Gemara, who cares? Are we Chas Shalom playing, games here of numbers? The Istama Davka, if Stama means Davka, if you think that Stama is coming to tell me Halacha is like X, Malichad Stama, Malitrei Stama, who cares? Who cares if it's mentioned once or mentioned twice? Yeah, this competition of Chas Shalom kindergarten, Maz Mishaneh. Yeah, Rebbe found it necessary to mention it twice. Why? Many times, we saw recently, remember? The same Mishnah appears in Kiddushin and Ksubas, because it's the same Mishnah, it's relevant for Kiddushin, relevant for Ksubas. Done. Out of relevance, Rebbe HaKodesh, Rebbe Anasi, the author of the Mishnah, he mentioned it twice, and this he mentioned once. It doesn't mean one Mishnah is stronger than the other. Yeah, so who cares? Why is saying the Mishnah that's mentioned twice is stronger than one mentioned once? And says the Gemara, and this is a big Yesoid, Amar Nachman B'Yitzchak, Halacha Rabbi Meir. You know Rabbi Meir is the winner? Wow. It's not about how many times, it's about where it's mentioned. Ooh. The Mishnah supporting Rabbi Meir is mentioned in the Mishnah, which is called the Bechirta, the chosen one, the select 5-star diamond club jet set Mishnah called Eduyos. Because Eduyos is the Mishnah that is number one Mishnah in Shas, yeah, and soon Rashi will tell us why. Because, therefore, if you mention there, you've made it, yeah. Let's say your name is mentioned in the newspaper. It's not because it was mentioned in 2 newspapers, because one of the newspapers that mentioned you is the magazine that talks about the richest people, whatever, the Chosheva people. It's where you mention, it's not how many times you mention, yeah. So now look at Rashi. Why is Maseches Eduyos is such a spitze Mishnah? And if your name is there or the stoma is there, that means Halacha is like you. You know why Kari Bechirta says Rashi, last Rashi, it's called the chosen one. Shekol divrei heidu mipi hagdoilim v'halacha k'moison. What's Eduyos? Eduyos means testimony. The Mishnayos of Maseches Eduyos, many of it is Machlokes B'Shammai B'S Hillel, are Mishnayos that are halacha k'moison. They were made. People testified that they know that these Mishnayos were quoted correctly from Gdolim, from previous generations of the great people of previous generations. So those Mishnayos are like testimony. Mishnayos of Eduyos are real halacha. Many Mishnayos in Shas are not halacha. Yeah, it comes to mind. Bava Kama and Bava Mudalef, Moitzim Chavar Levaraya is halacha. And Bava Mudalef in Bava Kama doesn't say that. Right? So Sumchus, Yechloiku, classical one. Not every Mishnah is halacha. What does the Rambam say about somebody who paskins from a Mishnah? Very nice things. Somebody who paskins based on a Mishnah, yeah, he's a fool, he's haughty, he's arrogant, and is an, excuse the language, an idiot. He's an idiot. Yeah. He doesn't like when I'm saying these words. Yeah. So therefore, when you paskin from a Mishnah, shtuyot, you can't paskin from a Mishnah. Mishnayos go this, that, the other way. But Mishnayos in Eduyos, they're all correct. They're all correct. And if Rabbi Meir's supportive Mishnah appears in Eduyos, then Halacha is like him. And therefore, what's the maskana? That Meiser Sheni's moment gavoya, as was said by Rabbi Meir. Not like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda also has a Mishnah that supports him, but not in eduyos. Quality is eduyos. Yes, I'm listening. Oh, so no, very good. Nice, nice, nice. So the Maisa, if we say halacha is like Rabbi Meir, so you end up, if you follow Rabbi Meir, you have to pay 2 sloim. Right. In other words, if I pulled the apples that did Mashicha from the hands of my dear friend Shmuel, and then it became expensive, then I go by the money, because Hekdesh follows money, doesn't follow Mashicha. So if today, when it did Mashicha, was worth 1 selah, and tomorrow it became 2 sloim, as long as I didn't do the kinyan with money, which is really monetary transfer of Hekdesh, then nothing happened, and I owe Shmuel 2 sloim, yes, and only then will be redeemed. Very good cheshbon, yeah. I don't know halacha, maybe it's an exception, but l'chor that's the Mishnah is not halacha because it's not Rabbi Meir, and you pass like Rabbi Meir. L'chor, yes, pashtus, yeah. And now back to the sugi of Me'ilah, right? What did we say about Me'ilah? You want to remind me? Machlokas Rameir and Rabbi Yehuda. There are many Machlokas Rameir and Rabbi Yehuda lately. That's true. Machlokas Rameir and Rabbi Yehuda regarding Me'ilah. What did Rabbi Yehuda say about Me'ilah? That if a person was moil b'shoigeg, you took out whichever way, one way or the other, without going to details, you used, abused, embezzled, took out the item of hekdesh mistakenly. Rashi calls it Gzeras HaKosuv, that b'shoigeg you have to bring the korban, not b'mezid. It's this week's parsha, my friends, by the way. And what do we say then? If the Torah says that b'shoigeg is called me'ilah, then the item now is out of the realm of hekdesh. Now the kedusha has basically poofed and popped out. That's it, gone. And now it belongs to chulin, and you have to bring the korban. Mezid, we don't say that, as bad as it may be to do the mezid, the punishment is not a special thing of korban meila. Stam, regular malchus according to some, or bidei shamayim, some did something else, regular punishment, and therefore mezid, it doesn't come out of the realm of hekdesh. Rabbi Meir was mechadish a big chiddush. Rabbi Meir said the opposite. Rabbi Meir said b'shoigeg, if you are transferring something b'shoigeg, what's halacha? It's not called meila because you're not a willing partner. You had no idea what you're doing, right? You had no idea that you're really dealing with hekdesh. Had you known that, you wouldn't have agreed. You wouldn't have wanted it. True. And therefore, it's not called meila. You may have to bring a korban gzeras hakosu. Fine. But lamaisa, you do not. The item is not out. And even korban, it's mashma beforehand from Rashi. You don't have to bring a korban either. When is it that the shoigeg meila applies? Remember what we said? When you eat it, when you light it, when it's really physically consumed, it's a reality that it's out of hekdesh, even the shoigeg. When does meila apply? When you transfer it to someone else? Just b'mezid. Dafka when you're b'mezid, although there's no korban, but if you willingly took out the item out of the realm of hekdesh, yeah, into someone else's hands, the woman you're mekadesh, the grocery store keeper, yeah, all these people, all these situations, b'mezid, then we say that it's meila, it goes out of the realm of hekdesh. That's what Rabbi Meir holds. Non-hosam. Oh, as I told yesterday to Tzvi over here, when you live in times of Beis Hamikdash, your psyche is very, very different. Your mindset is different. And here's an example. There are many things you're aware of, you're not aware of otherwise. Not awesome. Tell me, when you see all the lights, all these beautiful, all these chains of light in the sukkah, red and green and red and green, yeah, you're right away aware of the problem. Well, the most Haredi Israeli is absolutely no problem with it, myself included. We're not used to Xmas. So when we see all these Christians or the decorations in the sukkah, we're all for it because we have no idea, right? So even different countries, they have different sensitivities, almost automatic. So to different times of history, people, yeah, you're geared towards different mindsets, right? So now let's see one example. Tanan Hosom. Behema shenimtzes miYerushalayim lemigdal eder v'kimidosa l'chol ruach. A person found an animal, wandering, an animal walking around, kind of lost. Where did he find it? Anywhere between the holy city of Jerusalem and Migdal Eder. Nobody told me exactly where Migdal Eder is. Well, the Meforshim say, I saw in the Mishnais, it's a town pretty close to Yerushalayim. And ukemidosa l'chol ruach, the same radius all over Yerushalayim. Yeah? Let's say Migdal Eder, I'm just inventing a number. I'm just inventing. Let's say Migdal Eder of Yerushalayim is 10 kilometers. So the entire circumference radius of Yerushalayim of 10 kilometers from Yerushalayim, anywhere around Yerushalayim, if you find an animal there, it's a little bit suspicious. Why? Because the vast majority of animals, we're talking about obviously kosher animals, we're talking about sheep, we're talking about a goat, we're talking about a cow. What happened to these animals? We assume they came from Korban. If they are in the greater Yerushalayim area, yeah, and they walk around, you can't just say, oh, Ashavas Aveda, it's lost, it's this. Not so simple. High chances are that this animal is kochim, and you have to know what to do with it, right? You can't just bring it to Beis Hamikdash and say, I'll bring it as a korban. First of all, it's not yours, and secondly, what kind of korban is it? Is it oila, oshom, chatas? Is it shlomim, toida? No, what is it? Right? You can't just, there's no catch-all business over here. You have to know what to do with the animal because it may be kochim, and guess what? You're not sure what type of kochim. So now, okay, says the Mishnah over there. Zog the Mishnah, that behema, what do you do with it? Zchorim oilois, the kevois zivche shlomim. You check the gender of the animal. If it's a zochor, if it's male, now male can be, and that's what I was going to ask very soon, all oilos, as we saw in this, we see it in this week's Pasha. When you bring a korban oila, what gender can be korban oila? The one goes up to Hashem, only male only. Oila is male only zone, like yeshiva. Yeah, oila is just male, no female can ever be oilos. So if it's a zochor, it must be an oila. So what we say right now, I'm going to change it, but you bring it as an oila. You bring it as an oila, maybe on behalf of the bailim, whatever. It's a zachor, must be its oila. Now, I just want to tell you now, before we continue, zachor can also be osham. Osham also is a zachor, but osham is much less likely to be around. Osham is only coming on 5.5 kind of cases. Osham, gzelis, milas, shifra, rufa, nozil, metzoyim, yeah, all these things. And therefore, osham is not so common. So osham, it is not. So probably, if it's male, it's probably oilo. You bring it as oilo. Nekevois. If you see that the animal is a nekeva, tivchei shlomim. Now shlomim is the korban the person brings as thank you to Hashem as a shlomim, toido shlomim, as for anything. What? Similar to the oila in one way. It's very similar to oila and very different to oila. Shlomim and oila are the two korbanos you can bring to Hashem just because you feel like. You have no chiyuv whatsoever. You woke up in really good mood. Yeah, your shviger went back to America for the year. Yeah, so now you want to thank Hashem, right? So then what happens? You can bring either oila or shlomim. However, my dear friend, oila and shlomim are two opposites. Oila is all to Hashem. Shlomim is the big lahavdil party. The mizbech is part, the kohen is part, the women, men, everyone has a part in it. So I'm saying. Also, shlomim can be any age and both genders. Shlomim is very big, yeah? And therefore, if it's a nekeva, we assume it's shlomim. There could also be chatas. Chatas of an individual person, also a nekeva, it's less common, much less common. There's also an age issue here, which is very interesting, but I'm not saying this to you on purpose, because it will just confuse you, I think. Let's stay focused here. You can look up the first. So there, it depends on the year. Let's stay focused now. Let's ignore other korbanos. The most likely ones are oilois, which is male, or shlomim, which I'm repeating. Shlomim can be brought from both male or female. And if you found female, then you say, it must be shlomim. Frag the Gemara, wait a second. Ella, zchorim oilos hu dehavu, zivche shlomim lo havu. You heard what I said. Did you hear the contradiction what I said? Are you telling me the zochor must be an oilo? No. 50% that the zochor can be a shlomim. Right? All oilos are zchorim, but not all zchorim are oilo. Did you hear that? All oilos are zchorim, not all zchorim are oilo. Some zchorim are shlomim. Some zchorim are shlomim. Yes, shlomim can be anything. So why is so quick to bring it up on the mizbeach as what? You tell me that zochor, you take everything, put the ganze zach, the whole thing on the mizbeach, assuming it's a zochor, must be its oilo. No. If this is something that's supposed to go to the boich of the kohanim and the bailim, how can you bring it up on the mizbech? It's also you're not allowed to do that. You're bringing up on the mizbech something that doesn't have that level of kedusha. It has a lower level of kedusha. Shlomim that the chazev shok are eaten by kohanim. What about the rest of the flesh? It's eaten by every Tom, Dick, and Harry in Yerushalayim, right? And you're bringing it up on the mizbech. Aren't you scared of the risk? That's a problem. Yes. Amar Boishia, I'm listening to you. I'm listening. Yeah. That's so now Omar Bioshia, therefore says Rabbi Yoshia, and soon we're going to see what's the connection to our sugya. Hacha, you know the story here is nobody is thinking of actually, let's now right away diffuse the main question. We're not talking about a guy who is thinking to be makriv the animal on the mizbeach. That would be a big trouble, yeah? Because it's a zachor, can be either shlomim or oila. You can't take the risk of bringing it to the mizbeach and say, let's assume it's oilo. You're not playing it safe. So what is the guy trying to do? And the Mishnah is helping him. The person wants to do something much, much smarter and correct. You know what he wants to do? He is going to redeem the Kedusha of the Korban on money, on domim, and then bring the money. He's going to have two sets of money. He's going to have two sets of money, which means he does. Let's say this animal is assessed, he goes to BSD, to wherever he goes, he assesses that this korban is worth 1,000 shekels. He takes 2,000 shekels. 1,000 shekels he knows he will buy with it oilo. The other 1,000 shekels he knows he will buy with it shlomim for sure. And now he says, listen, I'm playing it safe. This animal, this nice cutesy sheep over here, the ba sheep, yeah, I don't know if it's oilo or shlomim. I'll play it safe. If this is oilo, I'm now transferring, measures of all these arrows flying from the animal. I'm transferring it on the money of the oila, and I'll bring it as a shiur of oila, and I'll buy another animal of oila with those 1,000, and transfer from the animal to the money, from the money to the animal. What about the other set of money, 1,000 shekels? Shlomim, I'll bring shalmei nedava. He's spending a lot of money. It was just shlomim. You can bring shlomim just because you feel like. And if the korban is shlomim, the other way around. If this korban is really, really, really shlomim, that anonymous, mysterious zochor is a shlomim, then I transfer it on the money of shlomim, and that will be continuation of the korban. And the oila I bring just because that's okay, because I'm allowed to bring oilus and shlomim just because I feel like. So that's why it's good, and that's what I'm doing now. And this is what we say: chayshin and shema oilos. They may be oilos. We're choishesh. And we're playing it both. By the way, I saw some Rishonim say you don't have to say money. Rashi says money. It can also be the animals themselves. I bring two animals. Yeah, I know one animal will be oilo, one will be shlomim, right? And a transfer from the animal to the other animal. One will be the real thing. One will be the just because. Now, and the Rabbi Meir, this only works according to Rabbi Meir. Why? Did you notice what the guy is doing here? What is he doing really? He's taking something bemazid. He's willingly changing and moving Kedusha from an animal to, let's say, money or to something else, right? How does that work to do that bemazid? Can you actually remove Kedusha from something of Hekdesh bemazid knowingly and willingly? That only works according to Rabbi Meir. The Omar, continuing the Gemara, Hekdesh bemazid mischalel, full stop. Hekdesh is mischalel bemazid. Tosis points out, and I don't have time to see Tosis inside, that this is not exactly Meila. He's trying to do something good. So Tosis wants to say that the guy originally wanted to steal it. He's not such a nice guy. He wanted originally, to take it for himself, and then he transferred the Kedusha on something else, on money, and wanting to use the money, and then he regretted, and we give him advice as what to do. But we will still follow Rashi, because all Sugya I learned with Rashi. Rashi learns that taking away the Kedusha from the animal and transferring, even with good kavanah, can only work according to Rabbi Meir, that says that you can bemazid transfer and uproot Kedusha from Hekdesh onto money. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, it wouldn't work. Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, if I bemazid want to move something with kavanah, good or bad, but with intention to move Kedusha, remove the Kedusha from the animal on something else, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it just won't work. So therefore, must be it's only Rabbi Meir, this Mishnah. Now we're going to go into the nitty-gritty of the levels of Kedusha. Before we continue, and by the way, this animal, and that's a huge problem, which we're going to see very soon, and that is that this animal has no blemish. Everyone agrees that if the animal has blemish, then you're allowed to be poida. The animal has no blemish, an animal which is intact and belonging fully to Hekdesh, and it's supposed to go to Mizbeach, to such level of Kedusha, only Rabbi Meir would say you can transfer the Kedusha from it. If it had a blemish, if it had a mum, things would be much nicer, but that's not the case over here. Now, what's the difference? A kedusha of the animal which is intact. What's supposed to go? What's supposed to happen with this animal originally before it got lost? Where was it supposed to go? Korban mizbeach. That's called kedusha saguf. You should know there are two levels of kedusha all over kochim: kedusha saguf and kedusha domim. Kedusha saguf means the item itself is holy. That applies, for example, for animals. It applies to animals that go up to the mizbech themselves, or kalim, the vessels. Let's say a vessel, the mazrek, always comes to mind. A mazrek is like a vessel that is pointed in the bottom. You can't rest it on the floor. What do you do with it? You fill the blood of the korban into that. It gets filled with the blood of the korban. That is kedusha saguf. The thing itself is kodesh. I'll give an example. Let's say the meat that, now, as opposed to, let's say, something that has mum, if I'm 99% sure, something that has mum in it, that has a blemish, is lower to kedushas domim. It's still holy mitzad. The money, the value of it is kodesh. You don't bring it to the mizbeach. What do you do with something that has a blemish and is kodesh? You transfer the kedusha to something else, and that you bring to the mizbeach, the other one. But something that has a missing leg, or even a little tiny dot on the eye in the wrong place, or a thing that all these blemishes, what do you do with that? It doesn't have kedusha saguf. It has, the body is not kodesh, the money, the value is kodesh. Now the Gemara is going to ask a question. Even according to Rabbi Meir, the kedusha saguf mischalel. Are you sure that even according to Rabbi Meir, as much as Rabbi Meir says, I can be moyel and transfer the kedusha, what were the things we kept talking all the time about Rabbi Meir? Money. Money is kedusha's domim, right? I took the money to the chenvani, the shliach. Yeah, of course that the mezid meila applies. Here we're talking about the animal whose body is intact, perfect, supposed to go tomorrow to the mizbeach, and you're telling me the kedusha saguf, if you dafka want to take out the kedusha into money, that's going to work. Even according to Rabbi Meir, it shouldn't. Vatnan. Look what it says in the Mishnah. It says in the Mishnah, "En moyel achar moyel b'mukdoshin, ela bebehemu b'klishares bilvad." Oh, when you have all kinds of things that are kodesh, kedushas ha guf, yeah, there's no meila after meila. Is there bishul achar bishul? All these cases, yeah, and moyel achar moyel, which means makes sense. What does meila usually mean? Usually meila means I took the meila item. I gave it to you. I took the meila money, mistakenly, not mistakenly, or Rabbi Yehuda, doesn't matter now. Now Ellen has something nice to sell me. You want to sell me your watch, and I'm giving you the money of the Ekdesh. You own the money of the Ekdesh. The Kedusha is out of the money. Now I can't be moil again. It was removed, right? You can't kill the same person twice. It was removed. There's no meila after meila. What about if I use something of Hekdesh? Once I used it once, it's a bigger Kiddush. I used it once, that's it. Once I used it, then it's not Kodesh anymore, it's out of Hekdesh. So if you used it after me, there's no Meila anymore. It was Gimoyed already. It's been, it's been desecrated and out of Hekdesh. Now, the second guy who does the same thing, who takes the second ride, has no chiyuv whatsoever. Ella, the exception though is the behema b'klishos bilvad. Oh, what did I tell you? What's behema? We talk behema without mum. The behema that's supposed to go up to the mizbech tomorrow, or the klishores, let's say the mazrek, the item, the vessels, the Beis Hamikdash. By them, there is meila after meila 100 times. Soon we're going to see how. Ketzad, how is that? And we're going to explain why. Let's say there is a bull that's supposed to go tomorrow on the mizbeach, and you're riding on the bull, rodeo. Woo! Yeah, you're riding on the behema of the supposed to be from mizbeach. 10, 15 guys all had a ride. Yeah, excuse the pun. On what? On the bull. Kula malu. The all chayiv meila. Why are the all chayiv meila? You know why? Because it never really left hekdesh. When I use that item, because it has kedushas guf and not kedushas domim, the higher level of kedusha is there. It doesn't go out bechulin. Oh, because it's domim, the kedusha stays. Do whatever you want with it. You can transfer. What I said? I meant what I said. You're riding on it. Does make a difference. If you ride on an animal that's with kedushas with a moon, it's a question. It's a chiddush. Rishonim they talk about it, but Pashtus it sounds like the kedusha is out. Yeah, because they used it. Kedushas domim with no mum. Kedushas domim, the one supposed to go to mizbech. If you use it, it doesn't leave hekdesh. The kedusha is so high, it doesn't let go. And the same thing should be what? If I, with all the mazid in the world and all of our males, mazid all the time, we've been seeing for this, so what? I also rode on it b'mazid. And therefore, if I transfer the Kedusha of the Behema, Tmima, what's the opposite Balmum? Tomim. It's without blemish, it's complete, it's intact. And I try to move the Kedusha is not removable. Yeah. And the same story goes, continues the Mishnah. Hoya shoyse b'kol shel zov. Imach Shema, who did that? Achashverosh. Kol shel zov. A person drinks with a golden cup of the holy temple of Solomon. Yeah, you drink with a kol shel zov. One after the other in the Mishnah, they all drink from the beautiful kos dov of Beis Hamikdash. Kulamalu, the all chayiv meila. Why? But when the first one drank, it's already out of hekdesh. Well, no, because it has kedusha saguf. Because this very item and no other item supposed to be used. Oh, you know what did you see at the end of Shemois? When did Moshe Rabbeinu anoint the kelim? You know what happened when Moshe Rabbeinu anointed the kelim of Zov of Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan? They became Kedusha Saguf. That's very important. When I designate a Kli to Beis Hamikdash, I design it like a nice Mazrek. It doesn't have Kedusha Saguf, only Kedusha Domim. Because I decided it's Kodesh, I mouthed it. Only when Moshe Rabbeinu back then or later on, in the Kohanim, they smear it with the Shem and the Mishcha, then it's uplifted to be considered Kedusha Saguf. It has a much higher level of Kedusha, and as much as you drink from it, it doesn't go out to become Chulin. So every person who abuses it, who embezzles it, is chayv again and again and again, because he never left hekdesh. It's not like I went to a grocery and I gave you the thing and out and finished. It's never finished. It's always there. Do you mind? Yeah. Yeah, you had a question? Okay. So now let's repeat the question. Again, what did we say? Let's revise. You're telling me here a huge chiddush. You have an animal, looks if you look at the microscope, binoculars, everything you want. You found an animal wandering around. Yeah, somewhere in an hotel stone. Yeah. Ooh, Beis Hamikdash. Oy, oy, oy. What's the story? Migdal Eder? No blemish whatsoever. Big chiddush. What can you do? No problem. Transfer the Kedusha, oil, shlomim, all good. And it's good because it's Rabbi Meir. In fact, what are you talking about? Rabbi Meir, I understand what Rabbi Meir says. The Mazid, you can remove Kedusha. But what from? You can't remove. It's nice that Mazid works. I understand. But what from? Who told you can remove Kedusha from an item that has the holiest level of Kedusha, of Kodshei, Kedushas Haguf, not Kedushas Domim? That ain't working, as we just saw now. If I drink from the same golden cup that's supposed to be used for the dam, and I use it again and again and again, one guy and another guy and another guy, we're all chayiv, because it never leaves the domain of Hekdesh as much as I use it, or if I transfer the money. Answers the Gemara, no. Ahi Rabbi Yehuda, yeah. Ha Rabbi Meir, full stop, period. Which means, no, really it's a machloikis. Really it's a machloikis. Listen to this, unbelievable. You know who's the author of the Mishnah who said that I cannot remove Kedusha from very holy items? Kedusha Staguf? Rabbi Yehuda. Aha. Rabbi Yehuda, hi, welcome. Welcome back, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is the mainstream opinion, all normal. Rabbi Yehuda says what? If you do it b'shoigeg, Ila, Mezid, not Meila, all good. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Meila doesn't work on what? On item. It doesn't work. Meila, you chayv korban, but he doesn't take it out of the realm of Kedushas Domim, because the Meila never took it out of the realm. It's Kedushas Domim. That's Rabbi Yehuda. But Rabbi Meir would say otherwise. Shia. Rabbi Meir would say no. Rabbi Meir, who believes that you can be mazid, take out anything from Hekdesh, I can remove from Hekdesh, he would apply that even, you know when? Even Kedusha Saguf. Wow. So Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Meir is very avant-garde today, more than ever. What does Rabbi Meir say? Even Kedusha's Guf Mamish of the Behemoth, which is intact, beautiful, perfect, you can remove the Kedusha as long as it's B'mezid. Okay? Correct the Gemara. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda says the B'mezid, you can remove the Kedusha. Correct the Gemara. What does one have to do the other? Mid Rabbi Yehuda, Nishma Rabbi Meir. What are you talking about? These are two different machlokesim. What was the machlokas Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir? Can I or can I not remove Kedusha B'mezid? Says Rabbi Yehuda no. Says Rabbi Meir yes. But still, each one, they didn't argue on what can you take the Kedusha from. They argued how can you take the Kedusha B'mezid or B'shogeg. Why connecting the machlokesim? What Rabbi Yehuda can teach on Rabbi Meir, which means, the Gemara is going to explain that. Lav Omar Rabbi Yehuda, Hekdesh B'shogeg Mischalel. Rabbi Yehuda says, B'shogeg you can mechalel. We said it all the time. If you took something out of Hekdesh by mistake, used it by mistake, transferred by mistake, Mekadesh by mistake, you didn't know it's Kedusha, then it's Mischalel. Very nice. And yet he says, it's regardless of that. These are two separate issues. One issue is Shogeg versus Mezid. The other issue is Kedusha's Guf versus Kedusha's Damim, the higher, lower level. Rabbi Yehuda says Kedusha Guf is so high, so halik, so you can't remove it. Rabbi Meir Nami. Rabbi Meir would say the same. Afalgav Dekdush b'Mezid mischalel. Although according to Rabbi Meir, it's the opposite, and Hekdush b'Mezid is mischalel. Hekdush b'Mezid you can't remove, but that doesn't mean that it should apply to Kedusha Guf. Why should he argue in Rabbi Yehuda on the other point? The other point, you should agree to Rabbi Yehuda. Kedusha Guf loy maschala. Question. Yeah? Which means, let's repeat the question. Let's repeat the question. You're connecting, my friend, to machlokisim that are not connected whatsoever. Which means, even if we said that the Mishnah about the guy who rode on the ox of Hekdesh again and again and again, he never leaves Hekdesh, right? Or you drank from the cup of Hekdesh, never leaves Hekdesh. Even if it's Rabbi Yehuda, why is saying this is Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Meir? We never saw Rabbi Meir arguing on that. Rabbi Meir argued on a different point. HaKesher. Rabbi Meir argued on what? On saying that how is Hekdesh removable? Not b'shegeg, but b'mezid. And Rabbi Yehuda says, how do you move Hekdesh from Hekdesh, Kedusha from Hekdesh, by shegeg, not b'mezid? That's one machlokes. But regarding the point of what kind of level of Kedusha, what level of Kedusha is removable, why should they argue on that? Why? Rabbi Yehuda says that the high level of Kedusha of the real animal goes on the Mizbech, the real golden kelim base of Mikdash, their Kedusha is so high, you can't remove that. Why should Rabbi Meir argue on that? It's a separate machlokesim. Answers the Gemara, there is a connection. Answers the Gemara, yes, there is a connection. And that is what? Awesome. Over there, end of story, which means there is a connection. You tell me, guys, before we started the sugya, let's clear our minds from all the prejudice that we have already, yeah? What makes more sense to you if you started the sugya? What Pashat Pshat would work to remove Kedusha? Shogeg or Mezid? Mezid. That's Kavana. If I do something willingly, knowingly, with awareness, works more than the complete mistake. True. When Rabbi Yehuda said what he said, as I told you before, it's Gzeras HaKosov. That's why Me'ilah is so confusing. Because Me'ilah, the Torah is telling me to go against logic. The Torah is telling me, when you do something by mistake, by shoygeg, what happens then? Then Me'ilah applies. And then, according to Rabbi Yehuda, and then Gzeras HaKosov, which I don't understand, when you do it by shoygeg, then the Kedusha is removed. But it's really just by fluke. It's not something logical. That's what the Torah decided. And therefore makes sense also to say, the Rabbi Yehuda would say, because I view the whole picture of Me'ilah is something weaker, I also say that when you have something so high, like Kodesh Kodosh, like Kedusha Saguf, therefore, no, it's not Mischalel. You know what's Chidushai? You minimize your Chidushim. The whole Me'ilah is the Chidush, something as though it's so holy, leave the Gzeras HaKosov alone, please, and let it be Kodesh. Rabbi Meir says, no, I'm logical. I make sense. I say something sensible. I know that a person only brings Korban b'shoigig, and I, Rabbi Meir, interpret that on somebody eating, right? But when a person wants to, I say my own svara. If a person wants to remove the Kedusha, and he knows what he's doing and it works, And just like it works by low-level Kodshim of Kedusha's Domim, it should jolly well work also for Kedusha's Ha-Guf. That's why Rabbi Meir stays where it stays. Now we got the final answer. We got the final answer almost, and the answer is as follows. Everything is good now. Everything is good. A person found an animal around where? Motza, Telstone, I don't know where. Very likely this animal is Kodesh. You can't just go and sleep in your bed quietly. No. You have to do something about it. You can't just let it be. And then what do? You transfer the Kedusha, b'mezid. Mezid here is good, yeah. Knowingly, you transfer it on money. How can you do such a thing? Absolutely no problem. My name is Rabbi Meir, and I'm the author of the Mishnah, and by me it all works. Why? I believe A, Kedusha can be removed b'mezid just like Me'ilah. B, because it's up to the person's logic, I'm summarizing now everything together, because it's a simple logical thing, I decided to move the Kedusha, it's up to me, the Torah gave the reins in my hands to do whatever I want. Whatever I want means even highest level of Kedusha, a Korban, why? Going up to the Mizbech tomorrow, yes, I may remove the Kedusha on something else, because the entire transfer of Kedusha is not Gzeras HaKosov, It's not all kinds of unknown things. Simple logic. A person can always remove Kedusha from anything by his own free will. Punto, says Rabbi Meir. One long, clear sentence. And therefore, if I'm at need now, I may need to deal with this animal, I'll do just that. I'm not going to wait until it has a blemish. That's, by the way, the other solution. That's what Father Rabbi would say. What Rabbi Yehuda say, my friends? Clear, as we see all the time. We see it time and again in Kochim. Wait, take the animal home, make sure it grazes and grazes until accidentally it's going to chop some kind of scratch, some kind of mum. Instead of taking it to terem, what do? You'll just transfer the kedusha from the bal mum to money, and then you bring the money another korban. That's simple, but that's Rabbi Meir doesn't need that. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, it's really little, but we'll finish here. Beseder, Baruch Hashem. We're getting to broaden our horizons, and it says you have to get ready for Mashiach, so you have to know these things, right? You see an animal walking around Bet Shemesh. Yeah, Bet Shemesh I think is far enough. No, you have a donkey can be brought to the Mizbech. Last time I checked, and only Mashiach will come in a donkey. Mashiach, yeah. A woman told her husband, "You're half a Mashiach. You're the donkey." What? What?